How's everybody doing today? So today what I want to do is I'm going to go over how I use my personal tracking software. I'm a I'm a smaller breeder. Basically, I'll probably never have internally more than I don't know, like 180 animals that live with me at any given time. I wouldn't consider that even a medium-sized breeder. Now, granted, I might hatch somewhere in the vicinity of 1 or 200 babies a year, depending on projects and just what I have going on. But as a smaller breeder, um, and it's one of those things where tracking means something different to me than a large scale breeder, for instance, maybe, or um, just whomever. Um, I know there are large scale breeders who do a lot of tracking, and then there are those who do damn near none. It's off the top of their head. One way or the other, either way doesn't matter. What matters is your preference, what you prefer to buy, and what you prefer to know about your animals when you get them for those dollar amounts. So I'm going to go over what I do and kind of how I do it. I'm going to go ahead and get into it right now so that this introduction doesn't go too long. But to get started, I can tell you that I use Husbandry Pro. I believe it's like $150 a year, and you can keep up to 500 active animals. Each animal gets their own profile, and within the profile is all the information that you can track. There's a lot of tedious stuff in there that I don't use. Every time I give them water, I don't, track that, but it is an option. I just turned that option off, and little other things like that one. But I do track things, and I've added things because it allows for customization. Things that I want to track on here, and I'll give you a couple of examples of what that is. This is the beginning right here of my lists. The very top animal, I use an identifiers tracking, and I actually do a lot of my breeding with my daughter Samantha, squishy geckos, and then my son Alec, he helps out as well, and his handle is citrus geckos. Right here, you can see that this is top one here is going to be one of Alec's animals. I'm going to open it up really quick. If I click the plus sign to the left, which I'm now noticing on the screen that you can't see. Give me one. Oh, no, you can. So if I click that, it'll give me a little drop down. On the mobile app, it drops quite down, but here it's a little bit. It goes back up here. But the drop down gives you, hatchling notes, parents. That's something I added. Incubation days is something I added. I don't track the incubation days from here. I know the software does it, but once you convert to animal, if you didn't write that down, you might lose it. So I keep it tracked elsewhere, and I add it here so that it's there forever. And the reason I do that is that when I'm temperature sexing my animals, which I do, I definitely want to know how many days it incubated, because that's a secondary marker as to like how much it might be that gender. Again, nature takes its course, and you may not get what you planned, but that's okay. So we track birthdays. Some people track birth months, and some people just tell you the year it was born. Um, None of those ways are better than another. The only reason we do it is just because we enjoy it. We want to, and the more information that you can offer people, sometimes the difference it makes in your sales. It also is a little bit of a extra added bonus in customer service to know about your animals. But today I want to talk about how to add animals when you have pairings. So if I go to my breeding projects here, I'm going to go to my breeder plans, and it'll pull up all the animals. Now, when I do mine, obviously we have to do them by season. This season is always going to be called the year. And then I track the male's name. That's the name of the project. The reason I do that is very simple, and it's also the easiest and probably best way to do it. You can add multiple females under one male, and that's important. So I'll hit the view button here on Leo. So we're going to go ahead and go with Leo. This little eyeball button here is the view button. We're going to look at his plans. Now with him, he'll be here to the left, which is why the whole thing is called Leo. Under here, there's only one female that has been paired to Leo, but in another example, if I were to go back, I'll go to this animal here that I know. His name is Gustavo. It's one of Alex pairings. You can see here that multiple females can be added to one male here on the left. So that's why I name it after the male. It seems to be male driven, and I don't want to make a mistake. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to Leo because he's going to be our example animal. I actually have not paired him this year, but I want to talk about the software. Now, we went ahead and paired him to Gabby, who's not been paired this season, and it's also going to be random genetics. This is not necessarily for any of us to care about the genetics portion of this, but rather how to use the software. Right here, this lightning bolt, that's when you want to post an activity, okay? So I'm going to click on that. And you can see here, we're going to choose whether we want to give, right here it says Gabby, any weight. Seeing as she's already been created into a breeder plan, if I were to click reproduction, you can see that Leo is already going to be there. Now, she's going to be, according to this, which is my own personal breeder sheet that I've created, and it is very helpful. We're going to call this our second, clutch. So we'll call it clutch number 2. Now, I know that husbandry is going to tell you something different, and that's okay. Totally follow what they say. But for the sake of argument and to simplify things, I always put that I had 1 egg, and I always mark it viable. Now, if you do not mark it viable, when you go to convert to animal later, the option won't be there. You'll have to edit, mark it viable, go back in, and then you can convert the egg to an animal once it hatches. When I say convert to animal, what that option is going to do is it's going to create another profile within husbandry for that animal. And if you prefer to track this way, then, that's what it would be for. Estimated date of hatch. This is really cool over here to the right. If you're on a computer, gives you the option to write. And if it's, let's say we're going to go with female, I'll choose 55. If I'm going to go male, I choose 40. So, and it gives me an idea of when it might hatch. Female weight, you can add it. Egg weight, I don't do any of that. So this is actually where I stop adding what they've asked down here, because when you go to the egg section, you're only going to see your identifiers, which is fine by me. But if Samantha wants to pop in and she does names, this is something I do to help her along. So we're going to write, let's see, all caps, Leo by Gabby, and I'll say TSF. And in the event that we were going to name this baby Marker, I'll write the name Marker. Or how about Markers, right? Markers. So this baby's name is going to be Markers, and we'll keep that in our head just so that you can see how the naming portion versus the tracking for identifiers works. WY01 is the tracking number or the identifier number that I gave to Leo. And Gabby has her own, and you could kind of see it vaguely here, 06FB. I always put numbers in front of letters for females. That's how I tell, what I'm looking at, by staring at my identifier. And then I put letters in front of numbers for males. So once this is done, it's in the notes here. It's going to say Leo there. I double check the sire is added correctly. I'm going to hit submit. Okay. Now, if I want to do a second egg because she laid 2, I'm going to hit reproduction. All of this is going to be there because I have not gotten out of the screen yet. And then I'm just going to take this. This one's going to be male, so I'll change that to 40. It automatically changes this date. And then here I'll just put Leo by Gabby TSM, and we're going to call this guy Pencils. Okay, so Markers is our female. Pencils is going to be the male, and we'll remember that for later. And I hit save. The reason I do that is when you convert to animal, it's going to give you the option to convert 1 or 2 eggs. I've noticed there have been glitches whenever you try to convert 2, so I just separate them. For all I know, in the last year, they have fixed that. I have not gone back to check because I'm so used to my way. Feel free to do a couple of whatevers. I'm never going to. I'm going to stick to this just in case it breaks again, because it did break for several months last year in 2023, so I'm not going to. I don't need to go back. This is easy enough, right? So go in here to breeding. We're going to go to the incubator now, and we are going to look for Leo. You can see here, though, you can't see any of their names. Now it does do that, but that's not very helpful. So what I'm going to do is I'll just type in Leo and see what happens, right? It should do that for me. You can see here that I have an egg here, clutch number 2, clutch number 2. It's got the IDs there. How do I know this is the right one? When I drop it down, there's my note, Leo by Gabby, TSM pencils. This one is TSF markers. There they are. Okay, so if these animals are born, I'm going to click events. All right, and then I'm going to convert to animal. And we're going to go ahead and do pencils. He came in first. I'm going to click continue, drop this down, and then we need an identifier. The name was pencils. If it's TSF or TSM, I will put the gender here because TSF and M is not an option. And the reason that it's not an option is, remember guys, when you are selling something that's TSF or TSM, that is something that is basically indicating the temperature you incubated at, and I'm going to make a video about that later. But it is not a guarantee towards gender, and you should not say it is. Now, maturity, you have to hit edit to the animal to change the maturity from baby to subadult to adult. I'm not sure why the tracking software, the people building this, haven't thought that after a certain amount of months, each reptile should automatically be listed as one of these options. So you have to change them on your own. So what I've done is I've never changed. I don't change them because I'm not going to go in and change 200, reptiles into adults later. They just don't need to have a maturity listed. Let's say our animal is 4 grams, nice, healthy, big baby. I'm going to track that. Now my ID. For my ID, I'm actually going to come over here and you can see down at the bottom when I scroll through all these are all my breeder females. Now, because husbandry is listed under the male and you can put several females under each male, I need to have a way to track, my identifiers, what clutch I'm on, and things like that. And so I use sheets. At the end of each season, these are completely filled out digitally and they can be edited. If I've gotten a gender wrong, I like to write a note at the bottom. And if I've held back one, I put a holdback ID down here. That lets me know that I kept it. I put who I sell them to. And then I print the page when it's all completely done with that specific project. So this says Billy. Obviously, we are working with Leo, so we're going to change that. I'm going to do Gabby here so you guys can see it bigger. He was what, WY01. So, and then he was also a white and yellow tangerine, which is neat. And then we'll just keep that name. It's a generic name there. Obviously, Bold and Bright is a real breeder, an awesome breeder. That's why I kind of chose him. He's one of my favorites. So that being said, right now we are going to have our temperature sex male be born, and it's clutch number 2 right here. Pretending that these are active, they're already there. This one's still incubating, and this one is actually pencils. So I'm going to write that down there, and we're going to choose the identifier that I've placed. Now, identifiers, I use them as last names in a sense. And so each baby gets its dad's last name and then the counter and year in which it was born. If you call me, look me up, if you've gotten an animal from somebody else and they say they got it from me, I will have details about that animal. It doesn't matter if you bought it in Georgia, Florida, Canada, it doesn't matter. If they say it was born here, you can get a hold of me, and because I do this, I will know everything about your animal. And for a small fee, no, I'm just kidding. I actually won't charge you for that. So last name first, obviously we're going to go with the pairing number, which is dad's identifier, WY01. That would make this WY01-1 because Gabby is the first female paired to dad. So the pairing number is dad's identifier, and then the order that Gabby was paired to dad. So if I pair another gecko and her name is Rebecca, Rebecca would be WY01-2. Okay, that would be the last name for each baby. So this baby here, we're going to go ahead and just ignore these. But right here, I want it to stand out. So I'm changing it right in front of you. WY01-1. And then a little space, the number sign. This is baby number, we'll call it, let's see, 1. We got 1, then we have 2, 3, 4. This one's going to be number 5. And we're going to say 24 for the year. All right. So there's my identifier, right, guys? I'm going to copy that and change this incubating to active. Now I have options here. On my sheets, this is how I track active, incubating, 1 egg only, infertile, passed, or dried up. I track things like this for a reason. This is where I'm going to go to look and see how mom did. At the end of the year, at the end of season, when I've shut off my last incubator, I start focusing on the females and getting them back up to weight. Obviously, the males should be up to weight as well. I check on the breeder males. But it's the females that you have to pay a little more attention to. They had the hard season. They've dropped the most grams. And I will pull these pages and see. And every year I'm surprised. I have some females that will lay 1 egg at a time. I have some females that'll lay 2 eggs and then 1 gigantic egg and not a second one. I've got a female right now that is on her 5th clutch of duds. I mean, they're just not good eggs. This sort of thing is tracked. It's put in their file. I do carry paper because digital may not exist someday. You never know. So I'm going to switch her to active because this baby, or him, sorry, Pencils, is born. We have this copied here. We're going to change it to today's date. Today's date is what? 4/14/24. And here you're going to see that it, kind of tried to update a little bit, but that's okay. So it went with 40 days there automatically, and we're good there. So coming back over to Husbandry, we copied that. So we're going to paste the identifier right there. Pencils is the name. It's supposed to be male, so I write male. The birthday ended up being what? Down 1, and this one should be 14. And then if there are any notes, you can put them there. Obviously, I did the weight. This is all going to be slightly incorrect, but you can go back later. What I want to do is create the profile first. I'm going to hit save. All right, so now we're done. It's going to direct you back to just your main animals page. Right up here, I have a little quick filter. This is another reason why I don't select the maturity. You can go to your toggle filter here and look for the year, date of birth year, type it in, and then hit save and apply. Save the filter and apply, and I just typed in 2024. That's what you saw a second ago. That being said, it automatically gives me a little button here now because it's customizable. When I click it, anything born in my facility in the year 2024 is going to be right here. So I'm going to look for the one without a photo, which is going to be Pencils, right? So Pencils is here. There's the birthday. He was 4 grams. These kind of things all saved. And he's a Firebolt Eclipse white and yellow, potential for Tremper, Tangerine, Giant, all that crap, right? It just kind of took mom and dad and threw it into one. Coming back to my breeder sheet really fast, when I'm down here and I'm applying mom and dad, so I put their birthdays in, I'll put what they are. The genetics, that's where I'm going to put, like, if it's Posset Tremper, and then I'll put, like, Visual Eclipse. Okay, and the descriptor is what the animal is. This one's a white and yellow tangerine. Okay, now why do I do it that way? It's because, well, these are genetics, and this is what the animal is described as a morph. And so I know the difference, so I track it differently. You can totally throw everything right here in the genetics box, but this is what I do. Right here, if I have a goal in mind, and I don't, so I'll just put willy-nilly, like no goal. Notes, female's 3rd breeding season. This is actually not true, but, I could put like that and then say keep an eye next year off. Maybe we're going to give her the year off next year. Here's the date that I paired them, 2/22, and then the breeder. So Samantha, me, it might be a project Samantha and I'm doing together. It might be Alec. It could be me and Alec, Samantha and Alec, whatever. The 3 of us do it, so there's those options. I put all this towards the bottom because the majority, after you filled this in, it's a done deal, and everything else is done here in these boxes. This is assuming there's only going to be 6 clutches. I don't pair again after the 3rd clutch. I'm a smaller breeder. I've never had the need to do that. So if I get 12 animals, cool. I usually don't. I have gotten 12. and I usually get 10. So 10 is like 8 to 10 is where I go. The cool thing about here at the bottom, if you don't know anything about the animal, you want to put what it could be. This could be a white and yellow tangerine, right? It could also be might prove tremper. You could put that you might create a bold tangerine, because if you blend these two, it's no longer going to be a firebolt. It'll be a firebolt cross. So you could put that you're going to put a bold tangerine in there, and you can also put that you'll have a tremper bold tangerine. These are just like, if you happen to know exactly what you might create, throw them in here. Make sure that you're tracking things. Now, that being said, let's say we're all done here. We just marked pencils in. These ones are all in. So everything here is all hatched. On clutch number 3, she laid 1 egg only. So there's no identifier, no name. This would have a name. That would have a name technically. We're going to go back to Husbandry Pro, and we're going to click on pencils. Okay. So here, when you go to his details, you can see the information that's there about him. Now, let's say we have him in our hands, and he's a white and yellow. Okay. He is a cross, but white and yellow is a dominant, so he's no longer a firebolt. I'm going to take that out of there. That's something we don't want to see. Taking a look at him, going back to the breeder sheet as reference, we're going to say this one is a visual eclipse. That's dad. And then 50% head eclipse is mom. So what happened here? Well, it's definitely, let's say this one is an eclipse as well. What we can do is we can come down here and say, okay, definitely proved albino, definitely proved eclipse. And I just have the generics here. The hobbyist is going to be me. Incubation days was 40 on the dot. You can put that there. And the parents, I write that in. That's my own preference. You don't have to, but I added that for myself. So Leo and Gabby, projects. If you have projects, you can do drop downs. You can select one. This is one, like, this is how cool Husbandry is, right? I don't care at all about astrology, but Samantha sure does. And we all care about what we care about. So she put this in there. If she tracks astrology to the moment you were born. She's really good at it too. So for her, because some of them might be held back, and her holdbacks she considers pets and she loves them, if they were born at a specific time and she sees them come out of the egg, she will write the time in there and what they are. Rising moons and suns and all that stuff. And to her, it means something. So that's kind of neat that you can keep that information if you want to. You don't have to. That's added. We added that. So animal's active. Here's where you would add a photo of the animal if you wanted to. Now, for sake of argument, we're holding a white and yellow. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look and say, okay, this albino tremper pos, we actually proved it. So we're going to say it is a tremper. Type that word, choose it, get rid of the pos het. I am very thorough when it comes to this sort of thing. I take time with each animal. It only takes a few seconds. And I make sure that I'm looking at it. If it's not big enough for me to notice certain things, I'll do it again later. I put a little X on there. It means at the front of the tub, it means go back and fix it later because you didn't get what you needed. So this is a leopard gecko. It is not a firebolt eclipse. This is a white and yellow tangerine tremper eclipse. And so we're going to call it that as a descriptor. Its genetics are down here. It is visual eclipse. It is an albino. It's a white and yellow tangerine. And I'm going to take giant out of there because we don't know that. Now, Leo and Gabby. Why? Because in my notes down here, this, we could say, pairing was white and yellow tang to firebolt. That's going to be something that I'd have more option here to see. And when I'm listing everything, obviously I want to know, but this is what we produced. That dominant white and yellow took over, and that's what's there. Hatchling notes. Animal, you could put animal was late. You could put whatever you want, whatever happened during the hatch. If you want to track something like that, you could put absolutely nothing. But yeah, I do that. So this is how I make my profiles. Hit save. Done deal. Now, if I want to see it again, I'm just going to click my little quick filter here. And there we go. A lot of people ask me why I do all of this. I enjoy it. That's what I want to do. I want to track every single animal that I produce. I want to know what it is. I don't buy cheap stuff. I make sure that when I'm investing in the type of animals that I want to work with and that I see the most potential with and that bring me the most joy, that I spend. And so I don't go cheap. I've got a credit card with every gecko I want's name on it. And that's just what I do. Fix your credit and do the same. Or if you have good credit, do the same. It's fun. It's my hobby. It's what I love. So I track all this. Like I said, end of season, I'm going to have this completely filled out, make sure I've crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's. I've got everything I want here, and then I print it. I don't just delete this. But yeah, that's what I do. So this is me. It's how I track things. It's how I go about things. This breeder sheet is amazing. If I want to go over here to this female there, if I want to check on her, she laid eggs today, for example. Samantha puts little names here to the side so she can see what she's working with later on because she names them. Here's the female. There's the male. All the information I want to put about them, how I'm pairing them, what day I paired them, if a note here, I just want to see what it looks like, or if I have a goal, whatever it is, doesn't matter, right? I've got 3 incubating. 2 of them came today, so 1 female coming soon, and about 5 days later, we'll have 2 males. It looks like. One thing that's really neat about my tracker is this little guy here. That code there actually changes this number here based off of what you're doing, and we actually put these ahead of time. So, like, see how it's blank here? We chose that on clutch 2, they will both be put in as males at 88 degrees. And then next clutch, they will both go in as females. Some of them are male and female, whatever we choose. We do this ahead of time. Everything's well planned out here. But if I were to change this, you'll see this number here, 55. Because of that formula there, when I change this, watch the 55 here, okay? I'm going to change it to TSM, and it automatically switches to 40. So that's pretty cool. And if I choose a date here, it'll go with the math from 40 instead of 55, and it'll put the hatch date there, the potential hatch date. So it's just a little bit of extra because I'm a little bit extra, but that's how I enter my animals. It's how I do pretty much everything that I do when it comes to adding an animal, putting a breeding plan together, tracking by female, and then also tracking right here by male. And so we do both here. It's very convenient when I'm looking for a specific animal's clutch and I don't know what it is. So if I need the female, I can't remember which male I put her to. I just go here, I look up her name down at the bottom, and that's how I do it. So, all right. If you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm available at Wildcard Geckos on Instagram. There's a messaging portion of the app there. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon.